Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, there's a lot of headlines these days talking about the death of late night TV. We're going to be talking to the great Aaron Garcia. He is reimagining late night TV. Next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, we're seeing a lot of headlines right now about the death of late night TV. And I think about that. I think about, the late great Johnny Carson and Jay Leno and all the amazing late night talk show hosts. But I think late night talk shows are in something of a transition right now because Gen Z, let's be honest, they get all their information on YouTube and TikTok and Facebook. And so to talk about late night TV right now, Aaron Garcia, he is the host of Conversations with Aaron. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you in the studio. And you've been doing shows on our network for about a month and a half now. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thrilled to have you on the show. How did you first become interested in late night TV?
Well, it really started while I was living in Denton, Texas, attending the University of North Texas. I was meeting a lot of great individuals, a lot of very talented people and whatnot, from filmmakers, painters, actors, writers, really sort of everything. And some of these people were very quiet and introverted and whatnot, but upon talking to them about what they liked, they suddenly became very gregarious and social and happy. And I sort of started thinking, maybe there's something here, podcasts are, sort of huge right now. They've been huge for the past couple of years. And, I enjoy just talking with people and whatnot, getting to know them. And so I thought maybe I could put these two things together. And it really started like that. Living in Denton, initially I rented some equipment, did my own episode. If you look it up on YouTube, it'll be called like The Pilot, which, I just filmed. But that quickly costs a lot of money because renting equipment is not cheap. And so I realized I couldn't do it as frequently as I wanted. So instead I pitched it to a college professor of mine, Charles McMullen. Shout out, I love you. He was an interviewing professor of mine. He told me about a building on campus, Chilton Hall, that had essentially an abandoned TV studio. He said, well, hey, if you want to do this there, I'll hook you up with the studio manager, Dean Marshall, which, thank you, Dean. You helped me a lot. He's like, just take your show there. It's going to be free. You can just sort of go as long as you're a student here. Studio is all yours. So I did that. And yeah, haven't looked back since.
Well, you came on my radar screen when you rented our studios in Fort Worth. We've got some video we're going to put up on the screen, and I want you to talk about your first guest.
Yeah, so the first guest on the Fort Worth location. Oh,
there she is.
Oh, do I talk over it?
Oh, no, yeah, please talk over
it. Yeah, so this is a great experience. Lovely studio. Shout out Andrew Yusker. Remember, he did a wonderful job with that. But yeah, that guest is Amy Wilson. I met her during my time at Denton, Texas. She was a PA and extra on a film of mine called Facelift, and we just sort of kept in touch. This past year, 2024, we became a lot closer and whatnot. And around this time, I was moving from Denton to North Richmond Hill, so I could no longer access to a studio at UNT. So once I thought about, rebooting the show here at, RNCN Studios, I was like, well, who'd be a good guest? And again, being really close with Amy, I was like, well, she's really charismatic. She'll carry that episode because I'm boring. Let me bring her on. And she proved to be great and phenomenal. And I'd like to think it was the beginning of a great and fruitful relationship between me and your studio.
Thank you. Well, and before the show, you mentioned Dick Cavett, which impressed me because that was long before you were born, but one of the great interviewers of all time. Where do you draw your inspiration? Because I know one of your heroes is Conan O'Brien. Where do you get your inspiration?
It's really just seeing people, again, like the aforementioned Dick Cavett and Conan O'Brien, who sort of stood out to me, seeing clips of them interviewing people and comparing them to their peers, with Conan more of like Jimmy Fallon, David Letterman, whatnot, Jay Leno, probably a sore spot to mention Conan and Jay Leno in the same sentence, but, and then with Dick Cavett, of course, Johnny Carson, Tom Snyder, I believe, was around that time.
Sure.
And what I took a liking to with Dick and Conan were when they talked with the guests, although they were, asking, presumably sort of scripted questions, it still felt like them. They didn't feel performative and whatnot, which you kind of see in other hosts, in my opinion. When they would laugh, it felt genuine, or if not, they just felt really engaged and present within in the moment with the guests. And I took a liking to that. And so I really feel like I sort of modeled my behavior and my speech patterns, from them, simply because that's kind of what came naturally to me. And yeah.
And when I think about Conan O'Brien, I mean, you have kind of a stand-up comic. I mean, he's funny. He could
longtime writer at SNL, Simpsons, so
yes.
forth.
And you think about Jimmy Fallon and some of the others. A lot of these people are just wildly entertaining, just on their own. You seem like a fairly mild-mannered guy, so you don't present yourself as a stand-up comic.
Oh no.
What's your style?
Well, I think it is really that, just casual conversation and whatnot. The show is called Conversations with Aaron, not Interviews with Aaron. So, yeah, I'm not the most, flamboyant, most energetic, but I think when people are on my show, it's about them. It's not about me. So as long as I can talk and make them feel comfortable, that's really my number one priority at any given time when I make a show. The guest needs to feel comfortable and they can be themselves and they're safe and protected and whatnot. And I'm not, trying to aha, gotcha. I don't do that. And honestly, I feel the best way to go about it is just how I act, just sort of casual conversation and whatnot. I don't want it to be those podcasts where, you see people just sitting all casually and whatnot, trying to, just look for that juicy moment so they can put on a YouTube thumbnail. You'll never guess what this celebrity says. I don't go for that. And quite frankly, I feel like the common person really doesn't either. I think just casual conversation is the way to go.
All right. What do you see for late night TV? I mean, is it dying? I mean, are the headlines right?
Yes and no. I feel like it's simply like you so eloquently put, in a transitional period, because you got to remember the late night talk show, the sort of origin of it comes back to, the 50s with, people like Ed Sullivan and whatnot. Context matters. Around that time, we didn't have social media. So the common person, the only way for them to see celebrities was to watch an Ed Sullivan, it was to watch a Johnny Carson, or, read a tabloid magazine. Nowadays, you can just look on Instagram and you can learn everything about your favorite celebrity or idol or, actor just with the simple push of a button. So what we really need to focus now, or I say that as if I'm a part of the late night talk show, but what the late night talk show format needs to do is simply evolve. What are we not seeing right now? Well, we're seeing, people dating and whatnot. So maybe not asking who's your husband, who's your wife, and so forth. Just talking about their day. What are we not seeing from social media? Well, just get a host, you can get them to open up and just converse naturally. And I think that's what it needs to really continue on. You look at podcasts and whatnot like Joe Rogan, in a way that's sort of like the new talk show. So you just put those two together.
Yes.
Sort of longer format, more, less of an agenda and just sort of a hangout. I think that's what people will need and want.
Okay, I'm going to say some names, and I want you to just riff on them. David Letterman.
David Letterman, a bit too much of a smartass. I don't know if I could say that. A bit much of a smartass for my liking, but an icon. You got to wonder what would have happened if he would have taken over for Johnny Carson as opposed to Jay Leno, since that seemed to be in the works back then. But great guy, a little too, snarky for my taste, but there's a reason why he's a legend.
The thing about Johnny Carson that strikes me is you would think he was an extrovert, but as soon as he retired from late night, he became a real introvert, and we never heard from him again.
Yeah, exactly, because it was around 92, I believe, something like that. And so in my mind, because he passed away in mid-2000s, I believe, speaking of David Letterman, I know he sort of amazing tribute. Opened this show with a bunch of jokes that, the audience just ate up. And at the end of it, he's like, hey, that was actually written by Johnny Carson. Rest in peace. Oh, it's brilliant. But yeah, it really makes you wonder. And I mean, I know when he was on air, he would take extended breaks and whatnot too. So he was always sort of like this elusive figure who you only ever saw on TV and whatnot. So yeah, you got to wonder what he was up to around that time. I mean, but regardless if, how prominent he was in the spotlight, he definitely left his mark.
Okay, Jay Leno.
Jay Leno, I got to be real. When I think of a talk show, I kind of think of Jay Leno just because when I was a kid, he was, the host of the Tonight Show, so that's sort of where my mind goes. Um, I can get this sort of treatment towards him, with the whole Conan O'Brien thing. I think it's sort of a gray area. I don't really look at Jay and condemn him or anything like that. I think it was more of a studio sort of their involvement for that. I think it was their handling of that. That's sort of and the
Sure.
garnering him criticism and whatnot. But I like him. I think he's a swell guy, very knowledgeable, very quick-witted. Hell of a cars person too. Do you know that? He's amazing when it comes to cars. So yeah, unfairly maligned, and I'm a fan. I support Jay.
Okay, Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon gets a lot of criticism as well, but what's wrong with being positive and whatnot? He's someone I think when you go, you can see the guests. He's just trying to have a good time with them. He's not being mean or anything like that. Does it border on saccharine, maybe a little too sweet? Who knows? But good guy. He seems like a great guy. Honestly, I was a fan of him during his SNL days. Maybe that's a link. I'm noticing all these people have some writing background. Jimmy Fallon, SNL. Dick Cavett was a comedian.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about ratings because, unfortunately, it's a business. And so many of these hosts that we all adore, they also have producers that say, hey, listen, we should do more of this because our ratings went down by 0.5 point last night. I mean, So is the tail wagging the dog? Are we creating great programming at night, or are we, pandering to what the audience wants to see?
I think it's somewhere in the middle. You got to, network, like you said, it is a business. So unfortunately, you do kind of have to sway that way sometimes. People have to make money. People, feed their kids, the crew members and whatnot, because it's not just the hosts and the producers. You got the cameraman, the sound operator, all of that stuff. So you got to keep that in mind. But ratings, what even are ratings nowadays? You can stream things. How do you even gauge that? So there is a fine line. I think it really comes down to, again, transitioning from, okay, this format no longer works, so let's try this. It's something a little more casual, not focusing on, headline makings. And that is a really good question. Honestly, something I sort of ponder sometimes, maybe Conversations with Aaron gets picked up or whatever, and suddenly a producer comes like, hey, I know you filmed for about 90 minutes to 2 hours, but we're going to have to shorten that down. Could I compromise?
Right.
I don't think I could, so... Yeah.
Okay, the elephant in the room is politics, because I think if you watch all the late night shows, they all kind of wade into politics, which will instantly alienate half of the audience. Mm-hmm. Have they gone too political?
I think so. I mean, I'm about to be 30 and whatnot, so I only know what I know. Of course, you look back in the day, Dick Cavett and whatnot, or Johnny Carson. SNL, I know that's not late night, but I sort of associate them. They were all pretty political for the most part. I mean, Chevy Chase dogged on Jimmy Carter for that was what he was doing. I think that's always been a part of a thing, but it's just because social media is so rampant right now. It's so big. It becomes a lot bigger than what it probably actually is being depicted. So have we gone too far? I feel like it's always been the same, but again, just the prevalence of social media and people more in tune with online and social media, I think it makes it feel like it's a lot bigger. But if you really take a step back, life is still the same. The right still hates the left and vice versa. Left still hates the right. That's never going away. It just feels amplified because of the digital sort of state burden.
Okay, let's dream that one of your shows goes viral, and the next thing you know, you get an invitation to go to New York, and this is a national show.
Man.
What would you do with that?
What would I do? Well, first off, presumably I'd have some money, so I would, spend that quite a bit, or put some into savings, and maybe help fund, my filmmaking career. But if I did that, honestly, just try to stay as much as myself as possible, and really don't change it if if it's not broke, don't fix it. I thought of Mike Love for some reason. Love the Beach Boys, but just really keep. I mean, if I got that, which. That is kind of a dream of mine, just really try to stay authentic and whatnot, so the fans who saw me from the beginning with Brittany Christine in my pilot episode, shout out Brittany, would kind of see the straight line, oh, it's always been the same person, always been the same show. He never changed. And
you had a show, I don't think it's aired yet, but you had a show here in our Oprah studio.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. You had a band?
Over Dramatic, yes. I had the band Over Dramatic. They're from Dallas. I met them. That's the, to sort of gush about my show really quick. It's divided into 3 segments: interview, more of a conversation, followed by recommendations, in which me and the guest recommend 6 things to the audience. Can be anything: films, music, life advice, YouTube channels, food, American chain restaurants, anything. Then the 3rd segment is a work spotlight, in which me and the guest break down a work of theirs. So if they're a musician, they'll perform, and then we'll break down the song. If they're an actor, we'll get a scene of sorts and sort of break it down and so forth. And the great thing about the recommendation segment is we'll have guests on, and they'll sometimes, if we have a musician, they'll recommend another band. I put it on Instagram, I tag that band that they recommended, then that band is suddenly aware of me, and then they want to come on, and so it sort of feeds itself. And that's how I discovered Overdramatic. I had N Gray, the band N Gray, great episode, great people, shout out N Gray. And through them, they were friends with Overdramatic, and I believe they actually performed together. So N Gray's on, and they tell me about Overdramatic. Therefore, you put 2 and 2 together, and it's continuously like that. And then Overdramatic, their drummer and their bassist and guitarist, I believe, are in a band called Hard AF. Now that's a potential other episode, because they already, and
Right.
it's just great. Just feeds itself.
Well, one of the things I love about our network is that we're not here to tell you who to interview or what your show's about.
Yeah.
We're here to make it pretty. So nobody from my team is ever going to tell you who to interview or what to do. So you actually get a chance to chart your own course. Where do you see this all headed?
That's a great question. Get some more views and whatnot. People like it. I mean, Dallas has some nice celebrities. Maybe word gets out and we get like a Mark Cuban or a Kyrie Irving, Dallas Mavericks, a Dak Prescott on, because I hear about this. Brings some more eyes onto the program. Skyrocket up.
Well, I applaud you, Aaron, because you are the next generation, and I think late night TV needs kind of a refresh. They need some fresh blood. They need some new insights and some a new direction. So,
Definitely.
congratulations on the chart, the course that you're charting. Okay, so final thoughts. What would you like to leave people with?
Let's see. Aside from the show, I am a filmmaker. I am in the process of reaching the pre-production. I'm raising money for a film called Denton, Texas. And simply put, I don't want it to sound like
No, please.
I'm speaking of hyperbole, but it's going to be one of the greatest films of all time. It's going to be what Easy Rider was to, the baby boomers. It's going to be what Pulp Fiction was to Gen X. It's going to be a cultural landmark. I'm so excited. It's going to be 3.5 hours long. I know that's crazy, right? Like what? It's going to be in theaters only. An even crazier idea, some independent film going to the theaters, not streaming, 3.5 hours. Are you crazy? I know it's going to go against the grain of what's considered normal right now. It's not going to be streaming. It's not going to be a short 90 minutes, 120 minutes. It's going to be film about dozens of 20-something-year-olds living in Denton, Texas. It's going to be a snapshot shot into the life that we're living in right now. It's going to be phenomenal. 30, 40 years from now, 80 years from now, long after I'm gone, people will see the 50th, 60th anniversary of it and see themselves on the screen and go, hey, all the problems I'm going through, these characters are too, and this film was made such a long time ago. This is amazing. Quite simply, everybody involved with Denton, Texas, we're going to live forever because the movie's going to live forever. Be on the lookout for that.
I love that. Okay, one more question, because my son graduated from UNT, and
Hey,
I know they famously had Keep Austin Weird, and there was a kind of a Keep Denton Weird.
Yes.
What is it about Denton that is unique?
Denton, Texas. Well, for me at least, excuse me. Yeah, it is sort of like a baby Austin. I feel Austin's actually kind of lost some of its weirdness, having been there somewhere recently. Denton is unique in that you go there and the community is so much a part of it, because UNT frankly is obviously very liberal, but then outside of it is very conservative. So Denton as a whole leans more conservative, but the college side is very liberal. So because it's always there, when you go, it literally feels like you've entered another dimension, because you're seeing all these people who are artists and whatnot. You're seeing weird people, colored hair and whatnot, and it's all great and phenomenal, and it really does feel unique in of itself, because again, Austin, keep Austin weird has always been a thing, but I feel Denton is sort of on the rise and sort of dethroning Austin in that aspect. So Denton is fascinating. You kind of go and you're just meeting great new artists, great people. You're seeing random sites and things. It really makes you feel alive. It really makes you kind of feel like you're in a film that is sort of unpredictable. It's sort of great. And I don't know if it's a place I could like live forever, but it's definitely something that you don't want to miss out on. If you're going to live there, at least give it like a year or something. You won't regret it. It's always going to be something to look back on.
Okay. All right. Just promise me that when you get the late night show, you don't forget the guys who were with you at the very beginning.
I hope y'all don't forget me either. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your success, Aaron, and I see nothing but blue skies ahead. We're going to end with his Instagram page, which is this guy named AMG.
Perfect. Oh, look at that guy.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Aaron.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jim.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.